So peering is not a technical issue. I mean, it is, but it is not a technical issue. It is a business relationship issue. It is a geopolitical issue. It is a contractual issue. There's a lot of other things that come in and fit into the soup that is the layer 8 issues of building networks. And over the years, there's been really funny stories in the peering space, right? Of course, like Cogent being peered and de-peered all over the place, and peering cakes being sent out to other teams of please peer with us, and we love you guys, and can't we be friends, and all these other hijinks that take place. But there's scenarios where, and I'll use Cogent for example. For a long time, Cogent had peering with other networks, but that peering was only in 2 locations. Peering was in Silicon Valley and San Jose, and on the East Coast. So if you were in Los Angeles and you were a AT&T customer in Los Angeles and you needed to talk to a Cogent customer in Los Angeles, you weren't connected directly to each other in Los Angeles. There was no interconnection of those networks. That network was hopping up to San Jose and then coming back down to the other network and back and forth. And that doesn't seem like a big deal. Latency is relatively low, but it introduces this other dynamic with the internet that decouples geographic proximity to actual network performance and speed. So that's a simple example I've given you in terms of 2 networks in Los Angeles going up to San Jose and back. We see this in lots of different markets. So for instance, geopolitically, there's lots of reasons why certain networks in different countries can't peer with each other in region, and they have to go to a different market in order to interconnect with each other. There's a lot of geopolitical dynamics with that one. Now, if you're talking about transversing some sort of body of water, capacity constrained typically, and also much higher latency or longer time to transit and to talk to each other. So these become not ideal network scenarios. Other good example that we dealt with for a long time, Brazil. You could have networks in Brazil not want to talk to each other in Brazil because of course they want to charge each other and who's the better one and who's bigger and who's not. And so instead of being able to interconnect in Sao Paulo or Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, these networks are coming up to Miami and interconnecting in Miami. Or if you're trying to gain access to customers on those networks in Brazil, instead of going and spending a fortune to be in Brazil, in Rio or Sao Paulo, you put your equipment in Miami. You can now take circuits and purchase capacity from your main networks of choice or destination networks out of Miami. And by the way, now you're not in the Brazilian market, you're in the US market. It's much cheaper to buy these things because there's a lot of competition in this Miami data center. So you get a better rate. Guess what? Even though you're hopping down, the ocean from Miami to Brazil, it's still faster than being in Brazil, because if you were in Brazil on one of these networks, maybe you're going to Miami and then back to Brazil anyway. So you're just cutting you're cutting your time and you're doubling your speed. So these sorts of dynamics make a very interesting thing when you start talking about building and how do you structure and how do you deal with networks in general. And there's a lot of things that as a network engineer and architect you can do and start thinking about these things on global scales. And examples are like I just gave. Do you need to put equipment in market, in country? Can you take and interconnect with that network out of market in a place that's more favorable to you from a cost structure, or from a proximity structure, from a geopolitical structure, whatever it may be? Do you want to have equipment located in Asia and be connected to a network in Asia, or do you want to interconnect with that Asian network in the Western United States or whatever? Same thing in Europe. Where is the best geography for you to put your equipment?